Hello and welcome. It is January 11th, 1942, and another turn of War in the Pacific Admirals Edition with the Focus Pacific mod in my play-by-email campaign versus Mevennos. The day starts with a little sub-action off the coast of Noumea as one of my French sub-chaser groups finds a Japanese ship but is unable to lay any depth charges. And it looks like they find him again. This time, they manage to fire some depth charges. Still no damage to the sub, unfortunately. This guy's been hanging off the coast of Noumea now for most of the game. Looks like a bombardment group led by a couple of BBs are bombarding Sarong. I have some planes there. They're probably going to take some damage. And this is a pretty lightly defended Dutch holding here, so no CD guns to speak of. It's going to get beat up pretty bad, I think, by this bombardment. We'll see. This is interesting, though. He seems to be moving back toward the northeast, back here, rather than continuing to push into the DEI. It's like he said, okay, I took the bases I want to take, now I'm just going to pull back out, remove myself from air attack. Yeah, a lot of damage, a lot of destroyed planes on the ground from that bombardment, and some significant damage to the base itself, and a little bit to the garrison. Yeah, it's like he's saying, hey, I did what I came to do. I'm just going to pull out and and just remove my my forces from the threat of air attack, and what are you going to do about it? And there's not really much I can do. If he wants to play that way, he wants to just move the stuff out while he's taken those holdings, that's fine. Only thing that I think may be a mistake is as he pulls those forces out, it is going to open his attacking units up to air attack. There's some open terrain that I hope to send my 4-engine bombers into and mess up those invasion forces. We'll see if it happens. We're just going to skip through most of these sweeps, but we have one on Rangoon, which hasn't happened for several turns. Very large Oscar group here, 38 planes. I don't have a whole lot on cap here. I have a few different types of planes, but none of their cap settings are very high. Let's see if it's enough to hold this Oscar group off. I'm sure he's realized he has to neutralize Rangoon because its planes from Rangoon are what's shutting down the airfield here. That's a good result for me. 7 Oscars down, 2 of my planes destroyed. He's sweeping at 15,000 feet, a little bit low for Oscars, and he pays for that. I think he would have gotten better results if he was doing a strato sweep. More sweeps, more bombing, keeping me honest here in the Philippines. I honestly don't know where that Warhawk came from. I saw that there in the combat replay. I think it was just a fragment of a group that had been moved out and then finally was repaired. Mabel's taking out the industry at Wincao. 2 light industry hits. 3 of those planes destroyed by flak. Honestly, I'm okay with that trade. Like I've said before, I don't really need that light industry. Big Sally raid and Lily raid coming in on Cyan. Not as much damage as I would expect for that size. And it looks like 48 more Sallys. Doing some damage to my squads as well. So big raids above Cyan. So this looks like it could be a little bit more dangerous. He's brought zeros this time too for this sweep. If they're a higher altitude sweep, I could be in trouble because my cap was down at 15,000 feet to take care of that Oscar group. We'll see what happens here. Yeah, it definitely doesn't look like I'm faring as well. Losing a lot of planes here. Oh, he's losing some zeros too, which is good to see. No, it says no Japanese losses. We definitely saw that little explosion animation on some of those zeros though, so I imagine some aren't going to make it home. I lose 6 planes here to none destroyed on the combat report, which is a little disappointing. What's that 16,000 feet? Ah, I see. 16,000 feet with the Oscar sweeping, but notice how it doesn't talk about those zeros. Those zeros were part of the long-range cap that he had over the base, and I'm sure at very much higher altitude. And so Oscars come in low, engage the Oscars, and those zeros can dive down on my planes and do some damage. So, another large bombing raid on Singapore. Taking some plane losses here. And doing good damage to the Qingzhou airfield here. Sweeps Zhejiang, and some of my H-81A3s go down. More bombing. More bombing. Here's some of my bombing, which is much more interesting. We're going to talk about it. It's really not, but so very poor damage here. They may be a little bit high in altitude, but starting to take out this airfield, continue to sweep it to keep it safe for my bombers. Looks like this group is doing a little bit more damage. Yeah. Good damage to the airfield, more sweeping, and some more bombing. Now that I really don't have any resistance in the air over that airfield, those P-38 squadrons, I'll send them down to Bangkok instead, and they'll try to degrade the fighters or kill some of the fighters that are sweeping to Rangoon. Already onto the PM air phase. Some Kingfishers flying out of Davao find BB Issei, but don't do any damage. Catalina tries to make contact with the TF, but is rebuffed by zeros. One thing that he's done really well in the invasion is he kept all of his invasion TFs, and we saw in the yesterday's turn, he had them really spread out all over the Selby Sea, the Sarum Sea, and Makassar Strait, excuse me, and had upward of 14 task forces, and they all had air cover, so he did a really great job of using his carrier air support to make sure all those TFs were under that cap umbrella. So that was really good, really well done by him. I have a couple French destroyers that decided to pay a visit to Rabaul. Nothing was there. On their way back, looks like these Bettys are trying to sink them, but destroyers are a little too fast for that. 5 Catalinas flying out of, it looks like, Cebu. But these roofs are going to handle them easily. And 3 go down. That's a disappointing result. Going after Yamadas is just a juicy target, even though they really can't do any damage to it, I guess. And we're down to the night bombardment phase, or evening bombardments phase. Invasion of Manado. It's to be expected. It'll fall very easily. There's really not much there. It's just kind of a shell of a unit after I evacuated most of it. And deliberate attack at Ambon. I really only have one combat unit, this KNIL Dutch regiment here. He has a whole lot more. And remember, this group was bombarded yesterday as well. But this time, 1 to 2 odds. Ooh, look at that though. I take a whole lot more destroyed combat squads. So despite the casualty report as far as combat power, I definitely came up on the short end of the stick. That's okay. I moved all the planes out of Ambon earlier. This next turn, maybe we'll start to evacuate some by flying boat just to preserve a little cadre of that unit. bombardment of Guam. Not much happening there. And I'm bombard back at Ambon. Probably bombard at, yep, Samarinda as well. Taking out one of his combat squads or disrupting it.
Greetings, everybody.
He takes Balikpapan, which is
this
interesting
is
because
Orphan Anne from Radio Tokyo.
And here's
saying
Orphan
hello
Anne,
to
our
all of
favorite.
her dog faces and boneheads wandering the Pacific Islands. Before we start the music, the Japanese High Command announced today that the ever-victorious forces of the Japanese Empire have captured Balikpapan.
So this is interesting in that I didn't see this Japanese unit at Balikpapan in the turn yesterday. So I'm not sure how he snuck it in, whether it was paradropped or he had it on some submarines, or yeah, I'm not sure how he got it into to the hex. So it comes as a little bit of surprise. However, I don't have any troops here, so it's not the worst thing in the world. And it looks like a very small, fragment of a special naval landing force that takes the hex. And that looks like the turn. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you in the Discord. Have a great day, guys.